I finally got the job I had been chasing for years. From the outside, it looked like success, but somewhere along the way, I started to hate the person I was becoming. I still remember the moment the call came through. I had just gotten out of the shower, towel around my waist, wet footprints on the hardwood floor, when my phone lit up. It was a number I did not recognize, but something told me to answer it anyway. Maybe I hoped it would be the call, the one I had been chasing for more than a decade. And it was. The woman on the other end spoke clearly, almost too calmly for the weight her words carried. She said I had been chosen for the position. Senior Director of Product Strategy at Greystone Holdings. Full benefits. Stock options. A salary I had only dreamed of. She said they were impressed by my vision and persistence. Said they believed I was the right fit. I stood there frozen, water still dripping from my hair, staring at the floor like I was waiting for it to start moving. After all the rejections, all the "will keep your resume on file," all the times I had told myself it would never happen, I had made it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call everyone I knew. I wanted to find my dad's old number, just so I could leave a message saying, "Look who made something of himself after all." But mostly, I just stood there, numb and wide-eyed, whispering one thing over and over again. I did it. That night, I took myself out for dinner. Nothing fancy, just a quiet steakhouse downtown where the booths were deep and the music was low. I ordered a glass of red wine and sat there alone, watching the way the candlelight flickered across the rim. I felt proud in a way I had not felt in years. Maybe ever. I had spent so long fighting to prove I was worth something. And now here I was, validated. Friends texted when they found out. Knew you'd get it eventually. Proud of you, man. Time to celebrate. Even my sister, who I had not heard from in months, sent a message with a string of confetti emojis and a "you deserve this." For once, I agreed. I had worked late nights for years, sacrificed relationships, skipped holidays, lived in apartments that smelled like damp laundry just to keep chasing this title, this chance. And now it was real. That first week felt like a dream. The office was clean, modern, glass everywhere. Everyone seemed sharp and focused. People asked me for input. My opinion mattered. I had a team, an assistant, my own reserved parking spot. The kind of things that used to sound ridiculous when I said them out loud. But something else started to creep in, almost immediately. Expectations. Long days. Unspoken pressure to respond to emails after midnight. A calendar so full it made me dizzy. They said it was normal for the first few months. That I just needed to set the tone early. And I believed them. After all, this was what I had wanted. Right? Still, something about the way my hands shook that Friday night as I poured another glass of wine told me this story was not going to go the way I thought it would. And by Monday, I had already crossed my first invisible line. Monday started before the sun even came up. My phone buzzed at 5:30 in the morning. A calendar alert. Vendor call rescheduled to 6:15. I had set it myself the night before, thinking I was being proactive. Set the tone early, remember? I rolled out of bed, still wearing yesterday's shirt, and shuffled into the kitchen. I brewed coffee while the apartment sat in silence. Cold, dark, still. I was awake, but not really. Just functioning. By the time the call ended, I already had a dozen new emails waiting. A few from the VP, marked urgent. One from HR asking me to submit feedback on my team before noon. And two from other directors asking if I could hop on a quick sync sometime that morning. That word started to mean something different in this job. Quick. Nothing was ever quick. I missed breakfast. Ate lunch at my desk. Skipped the gym. But I told myself it was all part of the adjustment phase. It will settle down once you're fully on board, I thought. Just push through the first quarter. I ignored the dull headache behind my eyes. I ignored the tightness in my chest that showed up sometime around 8 p.m. I ignored the text from my friend Jason asking if I wanted to grab wings like we used to. Instead, I stayed late. I cleaned up someone else's presentation deck. I rewrote a proposal because the original version lacked confidence. I responded to a message at 10:30 at night and got a "thanks for the hustle" from the CTO. That little compliment, it hit like a drug. For a second, it made it all worth it. But when I finally shut my laptop, I caught a glimpse of myself in the window. Hair unwashed. Eyes sunken. I looked like someone I would have pitied just a few months ago. Some guy who was giving too much for something that could never love him back. Still, I kept telling myself this was just part of it. The price. The tax on ambition. Every job has its growing pains. But something had already shifted. I noticed it when I snapped at the barista for getting my order wrong the next morning. I noticed it when I silenced my mom's call without even thinking. I noticed it when I stared at the microwave that night, watching my dinner spin in circles, and felt absolutely nothing. It was like I had put myself on mute. Like everything outside of work had been pushed to the edges of the screen. And the worst part? I was not even sure if I cared. The first time I noticed it for real was during a meeting on a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. Just a strategy review with the product leads. Someone made a comment, something minor about a delay in the rollout, and I cut him off. Not like me. Not before all this. I interrupted him mid-sentence, sharp voice, flat eyes, like I was correcting a child. I remember the room going quiet. I felt it, the air shift. Nobody said anything, but I could see it in their faces. That slow blink people do when they are trying to keep a reaction off their face. I should have apologized. Should have laughed it off, maybe, but I did not. I powered through the rest of the meeting like nothing happened. Kept it cold. Efficient. Afterward, I sat at my desk, chewing on the end of a pen. My foot tapped the floor like a nervous metronome. I could feel this strange tightness in my chest again. Not pain exactly, just pressure, like something inside me was bracing for impact. But it passed. By Thursday, I was skipping lunch on purpose. Not because I had to, just because I wanted to stay ahead of the curve. Outperform. Deliver. The compliments had started coming in, quietly, but steadily. You're a machine. Relentless. Exactly the mindset we need. Every time someone said something like that, it hit somewhere deep. Deeper than I wanted to admit. It fed a part of me I did not even know was starving. I started measuring days by what I got done, not how they felt. Success replaced satisfaction. Output replaced peace. My girlfriend noticed it first. Claire. We had been together for 3 years at that point. Lived together, shared a dog, talked about maybe getting married someday. She worked in design, freelance, mostly from home. We used to stay up late watching shows, eating ice cream out of the carton, whispering about stupid things that made us laugh. Now I came home and went straight to my desk. I told her I needed just an hour to catch up. That hour turned into 3, then 5. Then she stopped waiting up. One night, she brought me a plate of food I never asked for. I was mid-email. I nodded, barely glanced up. Do you even taste anything anymore? She asked. I looked at her like she was speaking a foreign language. She set the plate down and walked off. No anger, just silence. I sat there, staring at the food. Cold chicken, soggy green beans. I could not remember the last time I had eaten without multitasking. I told myself it was fine, that she would understand, that once I proved myself, once the schedule evened out, we would find our rhythm again. But something in her eyes lately told me I was running out of time. Still, I buried it. Because this was what I had worked for. This was the dream, right? Right? It was a Friday when it happened. I had just wrapped up a 70-hour week. 73, to be exact. I only knew because I started tracking my hours like some kind of warped badge of honor. The higher the number, the better I felt about myself. That afternoon, I got a company-wide email. My name was in bold in the middle of the second paragraph. Please join us in congratulating Drew Harper, who will now be overseeing the East Coast expansion. His leadership has already had measurable impact, and we are excited to see what he builds next. I read it 3 times. It was the kind of announcement I used to fantasize about. Recognition, growth, more responsibility. I should have felt proud, should have been buzzing. But all I felt was tired, not exhausted, empty. Like someone had clapped me on the back, handed me a heavy briefcase, and walked away without saying where I was supposed to go with it. The promotion meant more travel, more people to manage, more plates to spin without letting anything crash. I forwarded the email to Claire with a short message. Looks like I'm moving up. She never replied. When I got home that night, she was not there. No note, no call. Just the dog staring at me like he was trying to tell me something I was too dense to hear. I ate dinner alone. Again. Around 10 p.m., she walked in. Hoodie, backpack, headphones around her neck. She looked like someone returning from a long trip, even though she had probably just been out with friends. Or maybe just anywhere I was not. I asked if she saw the email. She nodded. That's good, she said flatly, setting her bag down. Then, as she poured herself some water, she asked me something I never expected. Do you like who you are right now? The question hit me harder than the promotion. I almost laughed at first, but something in her voice stopped me. She was not accusing me. She was asking. Honestly, I opened my mouth. closed it, opened it again. Finally, I said, "This is what I have worked for." "That's not what I asked." I had no answer. That night, we went to bed in silence. Two people lying inches apart, feeling like strangers in different time zones. And just when I thought the night could not get any worse, I got another email. This one from a guy I had not heard from in years, Ethan, my old college roommate. Subject line, "You might want to see this." I clicked it. Attached was a forwarded message chain. Internal chatter from someone inside the company. My name was mentioned again, but this time, not in praise, not in celebration. No, this time, it was about a decision I made, one I barely remembered, that had just led to the company pulling out of a multi-million-dollar partnership. And they were looking for someone to blame. The next morning, I sat at my desk staring at the forwarded thread. Words like questionable judgment, avoidable loss, and leadership review jumped off the screen. I scrolled down and saw a line that froze my stomach. Drew made the call solo. No approvals, no checks. He's good, but this is the second time in a month that his pace has cost us. My pace. They said it like I was reckless, like I was out here playing roulette with the company's money. But they were not wrong. I had made that call late one night, half asleep, trying to clear a backlog of approvals. No one had flagged it at the time. It was a small green light on a proposal I had only skimmed, just trying to keep things moving. I thought I was helping. I always thought I was helping. Now, I was damage control. That day, I worked 12 hours straight. I met with legal. I rewrote internal docs. I pulled every email and timestamp to prove my intent. I framed it as a miscommunication, called it a minor oversight with disproportionate consequences. I said what they wanted to hear. Took accountability, but not too much. Just enough to show I was still a team player. And they bought it. Or maybe they just wanted to move on. But the way people looked at me shifted. There was this guy in marketing, Julian, used to always ask for my input. That day, he walked right past my office without even making eye contact. Later, I caught two of the junior analysts whispering in the break room. They stopped when I walked in. I told myself it was fine. They did not know what it took to move at this level. They did not understand the weight. But later that week, I caught myself yelling at an intern. It was over something dumb. A missed attachment on a slide deck. I raised my voice in front of the whole team. Watched her face flush, eyes flick down, shoulders shrink. I could feel everyone else tense. I had never been that guy. Never. After the meeting, I closed the door and just sat there, staring at my hands. They were shaking. I told myself I was tired, stressed, overworked, that it was temporary, that I would fix it, that I could fix it. But deep down, I knew something was slipping, something that used to hold me back from crossing certain lines. Now, those lines were blurry, faint, sometimes gone altogether. Claire left a note on the fridge that night. Said she was staying at her sister's for a while, that she needed space to think. She did not say us. Just think. I read it twice and then went back to my laptop. I had 3 reports to finish. I did not chase her. Not that night. Not the next. And the worst part? I told myself it was the right call. Because this was what success looked like. Wasn't it? A week after Claire left, I barely noticed the difference. The fridge stayed emptier. The lights were always off when I came home. Her shoes were gone from the doorway, and the dog sulked near the balcony door more than usual. But none of it really registered. I just moved through it like background noise. Until the night I saw her again, unexpectedly. I had stopped by a late-night grocery store, running on fumes, grabbing frozen meals, and a six-pack like a cliché. I turned the corner near the self-checkout line, and there she was. Claire, in the floral hoodie I had bought her 2 Christmases ago, laughing at something a guy said beside her. Tall, clean-cut, confident. That kind of laid-back cool I used to hate back in school. They were looking at wine, something red, something decent, something people buy when they plan to talk for hours. I did not move. I just stood there between rows of canned soup, holding a box of microwave pasta and watching the life I used to have continue without me. She did not see me. Or maybe she did and chose not to react. I do not know which would have hurt more. That night, I drank 3 beers and stood shirtless in front of the bathroom mirror, just staring. My face looked older. Not tired, hardened. Eyes sunken, jaw tight, stubble uneven like I had forgotten how to care. My skin had this weird pale tint from all the fluorescent lighting at work. I looked like someone who had not seen daylight in weeks. Which, honestly, was not far off. I remember whispering something. I do not even know who this is. It came out without thinking. Not angry. Not sad. Just honest. I used to be the kind of guy who held the door open, who left notes on the nightstand, who showed up to birthdays with real gifts, not just gift cards, who remembered names and preferred playlists and what your go-to drink was at a dive bar. Now I could barely remember the last time I said thank you to anyone who worked under me. The worst part? I could still fake it. I still smiled in meetings. Still knew the right phrases. Still got LinkedIn messages congratulating me on the promotion, the growth, the influence. My boss called me a rising star. But when I looked in the mirror that night, none of that showed up. Just the ghost of someone who had once believed he could have it all. And for the first time since the offer came in, I wondered if I had been wrong from the very start. I almost did not go that night. It was a client dinner, one of those obligatory relationship-building things that everyone hates but pretends to enjoy. A steakhouse downtown. The kind of place with dark wood, soft jazz, and menus without prices. The guy we were hosting was some big name in manufacturing logistics. I had prepped all week. Knew his pain points, his golf handicap, even what bourbon he liked. I showed up in a tailored suit, smiled through the small talk, ordered the expensive stuff because it made him feel important. It was all theater. I played my part like I always did. But somewhere between the second drink and the main course, something slipped. He asked me how I liked working at Greystone. Simple question. Harmless. I opened my mouth to respond. Had the lines ready. Fast-paced, high-growth, best team in the industry. But what came out instead was something I did not expect. It is a lot. He laughed. Thought I was joking. Said something like, yeah, they ride you hard at the top, huh? But I was not joking. Not even a little. I felt my throat tighten. My palms were damp. I stared at the perfectly grilled filet on my plate and realized I was not hungry. I could not remember the last time I was hungry. He kept talking, but his voice started to fade into the background. It was just noise now. What I heard instead were all the things I had been pushing down for months. Claire laughing without me. The intern's face when I snapped. The way people had stopped calling me by name. Now I was just our guy from strategy. The dog sleeping by the door, waiting for someone who did not show up. All of it swirled in my head while I nodded along and pretended to be present. When dinner ended, I skipped the after-drinks. Said I had an early morning. The client thanked me for a great evening. Called me a machine. I walked back to my car in silence. Sat behind the wheel, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. And for the first time since this whole thing began, I cried. Not the angry kind. Not the frustrated, punch-the-wall kind. Just quiet, stupid tears that came out of nowhere and would not stop. Right there in the parking garage of some overpriced restaurant, wearing a $1,000 suit, crying like a kid who lost his favorite toy. Because I had. And I was just now realizing it. It happened on a Sunday. I had come into the office to catch up on some reports that nobody asked for. That was the thing now. I worked even when I did not have to. Like I was afraid of what I might feel if I stopped. The building was quiet. No footsteps in the halls, no buzzing phones. Just the low hum of HVAC and the dull click of my keyboard. I took a break around 3 p.m., walked to the window at the end of the hallway. It overlooked the city. Gray buildings. Gridlocked streets. A little park in the distance with kids running around. And there I saw him. A man, mid-30s maybe, pushing a kid on a swing. The kind of gentle push where your hands stay on their back a little longer, just to make sure they feel safe. He was laughing. Like full-body laughing. The kind where your eyes squint and your shoulders shake. I could not hear him, but I did not need to. That man had something I had not felt in years. Presence. He was there. Fully. Not checking his phone. Not thinking about deadlines. Not measuring the moment by output or performance. And I realized, I used to be like that. Not with a kid, maybe, but with people. With life. I used to stop at food trucks just to try something new. Used to take walks without tracking steps. Used to sit on rooftops with Claire just to watch the sun go down. No reason needed. Now I spent more time on flights and Zoom calls than in daylight. I stood there for 10 full minutes, watching strangers live the life I used to think I was building toward. And then a question hit me like a brick to the chest. What if I won the wrong race? I had chased a version of success that looked good from the outside. The salary, the title, the corner office. People clapped when I spoke. My name was on decks, press releases, shortlists. But the version of me that mattered? He was gone. I did not remember the last time I laughed without it being forced. Did not remember the last time I slept through the night without waking up in a cold sweat. Did not remember who I was outside of work. And in that moment, I knew. This job was not killing me, but it had hollowed me out, bit by bit, silently. And unless I made a choice, soon, it was going to finish the job. The next morning, I stared at my reflection again, but this time was different. I did not feel shame, or panic, or that low-level hum of exhaustion that had followed me for months. I felt still, like everything had finally settled. I walked into the office like I always did. Same elevator, same faces, same fake smiles, and "How was your weekend?" small talk. But I was not really part of it anymore. I was watching it all from the outside. Around noon, I met with my manager, Rachel. Sharp, poised, always 10 steps ahead. She congratulated me again on the East Coast rollout. Said I had become a cornerstone of our future. I nodded, thanked her, waited for the right moment. Then I asked her a question I had been sitting on for days. If I walked away tomorrow, would I still be proud of what I built here? She blinked, caught off guard. What do you mean? I mean this version of me. Is it something I'd be proud of? If I stepped outside of this title, this grind, this paycheck, would I like who I became along the way? She did not answer, just sat back slowly, scanning my face. I told her I needed time. Maybe a sabbatical. Maybe more. She told me I was too valuable to lose. And that was the moment I realized how deep the trap went. They did not care about me. They cared about the results I delivered. And I had trained them to think that way. I had made myself a tool, a function, a system that never slept, never broke, never asked for anything back. So when I finally did, it broke the illusion. I thanked her again, walked out of the meeting room, shut the door. Then I sat in my office for an hour without moving. At 4:30, I texted Claire. Just 7 words. Can we talk? No work stuff. She responded 5 minutes later. I hope so. That was the first real breath I had taken in months. I shut down my laptop, powered off my phone, took the stairs instead of the elevator. Outside, the air felt different, lighter, like maybe I was not trapped anymore, just responsible for what happened next. Claire met me at a diner we used to go to back when we were broke but happy. Same cracked vinyl booths, same stale coffee, same pie in a rotating case that never moved. She looked tired, not in a bitter way, just the kind that comes from caring too long without getting anything back. I slid into the booth across from her. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then she spoke. I almost didn't come. I know, but I wanted to hear it from you. Whatever it is. I looked at her, not just at her face, but at her, the person I used to dream with, laugh with, be myself with. And I told her everything. The title, the pressure, the silence. The night I saw her with someone else and felt nothing but regret, at myself, not her. The client dinner that cracked me open. The stranger pushing his kid on the swing. I forgot who I was, I said. And worse, I stopped caring. She stared at me, then looked down at her hands. So now what? She asked. I'm done, I said. With the job. With who I became because of it. I paused, took a breath. I thought success was about being wanted, needed, irreplaceable. But all it did was teach me how to disappear slowly, until I could not find myself anymore. She sat back, exhaled. That sounds like the first honest thing you've said in a long time. It is. Silence again. But this time, it was not heavy. It was open. She reached across the table. Her fingers brushed mine. I don't know what this means, she said. I don't either. But you're not the only one who lost something. I nodded. And for the first time in years, I felt like maybe I could build something that mattered again. Not for show, not for applause, just for truth. The next morning, I handed in my resignation. No drama, no big speech. I just said I needed to go live a life I could actually recognize as my own. People were stunned, some supportive, some confused. A few tried to talk me out of it. But I smiled, shook hands, walked out. No regrets. And as I drove away, windows down, wind in my face, I felt it. Not closure, not triumph. Clarity. I had not failed. I had simply outgrown the person I became to chase something I never really needed. And now? Now I get to figure out who I am when I am no longer proving anything. To anyone. Not even myself.